With the holiday season right around the corner, who wouldn't want to earn a little extra spending cash? So that's why today I have partnered with Cricut to share a ton of inspiration on how you can use your Cricut to make some items that you could sell for a profit and pocket some extra cash just in time for the holidays. So stay tuned. This is Whiskey and Wit. My name's Whitney, and on this channel I love to share DIY and budget home decor as well as Cricut projects like I'm sharing today. Also some wood builds, so really just anything DIY. If that's right up your alley, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Wit video. So fun fact, Whiskey and Wit actually started as a custom gift business before I got into YouTube. I originally started making things like wood signs, ornaments, custom shirts for bachelorette parties, tumblers, things like that. And then I ended up shifting and doing more YouTube. So I've got a background in selling personalized items, and so I wanted to share some of my tips and tricks I've learned along the way.
Also, a real quick disclaimer before we get into this video. There are a ton of sites out there where you can purchase and download for free SVG and digital design files. If you're going to be selling an end product, just make sure you check the description of the listing to ensure that you either are getting a commercial license or you purchase a commercial license so that you are protected for selling designs. It might not seem like a big deal. You definitely want to make sure that you're protected legally, so ensure that you have the right to make a profit off of that file if you didn't design it yourself.
A huge thank you to Cricut for sponsoring today's video, and let's get into it.
Up first is probably the easiest project and also something that's so synonymous with Christmas, and that's custom ornaments. Now, acrylic signs have been huge for weddings for the past couple years, but I found these on Amazon to make some acrylic ornaments. Now, here's a quick tip to size whatever file you want to put on your ornaments. Take a circle within design space and make it the size of your ornament, so mine is 3 inches across. Then I took my little Santa I Know Him file and sized it so that it would fit within the 3-inch circle. I find that's a lot easier to visualize what my design will look like on the ornament versus just measuring and guessing a size. So here I got it to where I wanted it, and then I cut it out on some white smart vinyl because that's what I had. You can use whatever vinyl, and I'm using my Cricut Maker 3, but you could make any of these with any Cricut machine. Then I went through and weeded my design, and then I had to remove the protective coating off of my acrylic ornaments. So I peeled off just one of the 2 sides and applied my decal, and then I pulled off the back later, just so then as I was applying and squeegeeing everything on, I didn't have to worry about the back getting scratched on the table. Then I applied my design with some transfer tape and my squeegee and just peeled that back. And then once my decal was on, I just peeled off the back protective sheet and took some acrylic paint, red in this case, and painted on the back to get the very trendy acrylic painted look. You could paint the entire circle back if you wanted. You could cover it with some scrapbook paper. There's a lot of different options, but I just liked this bright red to make the white pop. I finished it off with some ribbon, and you could make a ton of different variations of these ornaments. Here's one I made for baby's first Christmas. You could customize it with names. Sports ones are also huge. This is a Cubs one for Harry Carey, our first Christmas if someone got married. There's a ton of different options, and by offering the ability to customize with names, you're able to charge a little bit more and also differentiate from them buying in a store. Up next are these super trendy wood rounds. I have been seeing these everywhere from Etsy to Facebook Marketplace to different shows that we went to. So here are 2 different options, one that is Christmas seasonal and one that you can use year round. So I'm using these wood blanks that I got from Amazon. There are a ton of places you can get them. It really just depends on what makes the most sense for your profit for your business. I will link these down below though. I decided to stain both of them front, back, and edges with some dark walnut stain by Minwax. Something you can do for your business is decide if you want to offer multiple different kinds of stain. That gives your customer another option to customize. I just liked this color, and these are going to be used in my house, so I picked this one. For the Christmas version of the sign, I took 2 pieces of painter's tape and used it to create clean lines for a center white area that I did with white chalk paint. And then for my everyday sign, I did a diagonal line with some painter's tape, and I painted one side of it black to give it kind of a modern look. Once the paint had dried, I measured, and because they're 18-inch wood rounds, I decided to cut my stencils to 17 inches wide, and for this project, I'm using Cricut's stencil vinyl. Then I popped it in my machine and cut the 2 different files at 17 inches wide, and then depending on how big you want your decal, that's how you can adjust for the height. Once it was all done cutting, then I had to weed it backwards like a stencil. So here, instead of getting rid of all of the excess vinyl around the word welcome, I'm getting rid of the actual letters. Pretty much anything that you want to be stenciled onto your sign, you're going to remove right now. I repeated that step also for my Christmas stencil. I used my medium transfer tape. This is from Expressions Vinyl. I'll link it down below. It's if the Cricut transfer tape and my favorite paper transfer tape had a kind of middle option in between the two as far as stickiness. This is going to help me peel up my smart vinyl or my stencil vinyl while also not pulling up all of the paint that I just put down on my sign. I like to start in the center with my squeegee and then apply outward. That helps reduce the chance of bubbling. And then I carefully peel back my transfer tape to reveal my stencil. Then, because I am applying the stencil over a painted surface, I'm taking the same color paint, but I'm using acrylic paint to do this instead of white chalk paint like I painted it with, just because acrylic paint is a lot cheaper to stencil with than chalk paint and it's a little thinner. I'm just going with a disposable makeup brush to dab over the top and give it a coat of white paint. This is going to essentially seal your stencil down before you put the color on. Now for the welcome sign, I have part stained wood, part black painted wood, and so I went through on the stained part and added some Mod Podge, and then I did the black painting technique over the black section of the sign. I kind of had to do a hybrid because of the way the stencil was, but it worked out really good doing it this way. Then it was time for my color. So for the welcome-ish, I did it all in white paint. I did 3 light coats, and then I removed my stencil as well as weeding out any of the little pieces. And then for the Christmas sign, I did red for Christmas and black for the letterings on top. Same thing, 3 light coats, and peeled off my stencil. Then because these are wood round blanks and they don't come with anything to hang them with, and I don't want to have to drill to do that, here's how I attach my string to hang them without having them look unprofessional if you're going to sell them. I take 2 dabs of hot glue on the center of the back of the sign and take a doubled up piece of jute twine and lay it right within the glue. That's going to bind that to the sign. Then I go over the top with a little bit more hot glue, and that's not cute. It's gonna hold, but it's not cute. So I take some little pieces of wood and apply it to the top of it just to hide all of that hot glue. And these are so simple. They are just thicker little popsicle sticks that you can get from the Dollar Tree or the hardware store. I cut off the rounded ends, cut them in half, and then I paint them black to go right over the top. Then the last thing to finish it off were some bows. Now I am terrible at wreath bows, so here are the 2 that I can do. One is a messy bow, so I am taking 4 pieces in 4 different color ribbons, so 16 pieces total, and I'm cutting about 6 to 8 inches depending on how wide you want your bow. Then I'm taking all 16 pieces, stacking them up by size, and then I'm tying the center with some jute twine. All of these, except for the top red and white candy cane ribbon, are wired, and that helps when you go to fluff it out. So I'm just pulling them out in either direction, fluffing up this bow, and then I'm trimming the ends to look how I want. Then when the bow's ready, I just took a huge dab of hot glue, glued it to the top of my door hanger, and then I finished off the center with just a little bit of scrap ribbon to cover that jute twine. For my welcome sign, I was out of regular burlap, so I just trimmed off the red from this Christmas, and I made my first bow. I do that by wrapping the ribbon around like a cancer awareness ribbon and pinching it in the center, then hooking that together with some jute twine. I did the same thing with this black and tan ribbon that I got from Hobby Lobby. And once I go to tie that, I'm going to tie the black and burlap ribbon onto my second ribbon that made that other bow so that they're basically stacked on top of each other. Tie that tight and then add some hot glue. Kind of finish it off. I'm using the wire in the ribbon to get it to sit up the way I like. And then the door hangers are done. The great thing with this is you can put whatever saying you want, you could do whatever colors you want, you could do whatever bow you want, you could offer a couple options in each and let your customers pick if you want to do made to order. There are a ton of different options, but these round door signs have been super popular, and I really like doing these thin ones because you don't have to worry about sending them out into the world and having them break or anything. I would keep in mind that if you are giving this to a customer that's going to have it hang outside, I would definitely make sure you're sealing with a polyacrylic or a polyurethane over the top. I am going to be using this in my house, so I don't need to seal it, but if you're sending it out into the world, make sure to do that. You want to make sure that your product is going to last as long as it can. Another gift item that is super trendy lately are these beer can glasses from Libby. You've probably seen them with vinyl on them. Well, today we're going to do a different take. We're going to etch them. So I cut out different stencils to fit the size of my cups, and this one was a pain to weed, but it turned out so great. I did a leopard print and coffee for kind of more of an everyday set, and then I did one that says, "Why is the carpet all wet, Todd?" And the other one says, "I don't know, Margot," from my favorite movie, Christmas Vacation. I feel like these types of things sell really well around the holidays, especially if you get them out like end of October, beginning of November, or just the option that you can make them out there, because then people are going to be in the Christmas spirit and want to order them. So I'm just taking some transfer tape here and applying them where I want my etching to go onto my cups, and then this one is actually a full wrap stencil around for the leopard print. This is a great scrap buster project as well. I'm just using some leftover permanent vinyl. Then I grabbed my secret weapon, which is Armor Etch. You can get this at any craft store or Amazon, and it's this thick paste. And what you're going to want to do is take a stick. I like to apply it with a popsicle stick, and you're going to coat the different areas that you want to be etched. If you have any edges of your stencils that are too close to the edge and you think you're going to have it bleed over, just use some painter's tape, and that will take care of any runoff that you're worried about. I'm just going through and applying it. There is no trick to this. Just put it on. It's going to be kind of goopy, but it will stick. It's not going to run off because it's a thicker thing. You just want to make sure you get everything coated. Then I like to let it sit for 7 minutes, and once it's done at 7 minutes, I take that same stick and I scoop off the excess because you can reuse Armor Etch etching cream. So I take that and put it back into my jar. Then I go over to my sink with some hot water now that there is considerably less product on the cup, and I'm taking my finger with the hot water and making sure I get rid of the etching cream. Then I peel off my stencil, which comes off pretty easily with the warm water. Get rid of any of the extra little pieces inside of O's or anything like that. Give it a good rub to make sure all of the etching cream is off, and then my last step is to use some soap to actually wash the glass. I just want to make sure that that etching cream didn't get stuck anywhere, so it's not doing etching to any of the areas of the cup that I don't want it to. Then once the cup is done, it is awesome because it is fully dishwasher safe. This product eats into the glass just enough so that you can see the wording or the print in this case. And so I like this because it's different than a lot of the vinyl options that are out there, and you don't have to worry about sending out a ton of care instructions. You can just let them know that they are dishwasher safe. With these, I have a fun idea on how you could market these. You could sell them as a set, or you could sell them as one cup plus a Starbucks gift card for a quick grab and go teacher gift. How easy would it be to set your price and say you can get one of these cups, I'll wrap it for you, plus a $10 Starbucks gift card. All they have to do is write to and from and give it to their teacher, their boss, the bus driver, whoever they're looking for a gift for. That is how you're able to sell a lot more of these. Think about ways you can make it easy for people, especially around the holidays. For the Christmas set, these are sometimes hard to photograph or get footage of because of the etching. They look really cool in person, but they don't come off the best on camera. So what you can do is insert a little bit of tissue here like I did with the red, or show people how they can use them. With these cups, iced coffee is an option. You could put beer in them. You can put wine in them. So I decided to add some wine to do some stage shots, and you could post these on your local Facebook group and say, you know, wine tonight, watching our favorite Christmas movie. You know, I've got 10 of these in stock. Shoot me a message. So just some different ideas for you. I have a marketing background, and so I love thinking about different ways to market products. Wood signs have been a staple in farmhouse decor for years, and they are still going strong. Both seasonal signs as well as everyday worded signs. So here are a couple you can make for yourself. I've been really liking these Arteza wood blank canvases. They come in multi-packs and they are already assembled for signs. If you want to make your own and frame them out yourself, I have a whole video that explains how to do that. I'll take you from the hardware store all the way through to the end, so check that out if you would rather do that. But these blanks you can just pop stain on and go. For this everyday sign, I cut out a saying on some white matte smart vinyl on my Cricut. And I really like how the smart vinyl weeds, so it helps with different things like this where it's like little letters. I just really like that I can peel this back pretty easily and it's not going to pop up all the little letters. Another thing you're going to want to have is a sharp blade. So if you don't have a new blade, you can either sharpen it or get a new one. Replacement blades for your Cricut aren't too expensive, but they make all the difference when you're having issues cutting. Then I'm using my opaque transfer tape from Expressions Vinyl here to transfer it onto my stained wood sign, sliding back my transfer sheet and then getting it all lined up and applied. I'm going to push down in the center and then start pushing out to each side to get all of the different creases out and prevent bubbling, and then peel back my transfer tape. Now, when I apply decals to wood like this, especially if I'm selling them or giving them as gifts, I like to seal the front with Mod Podge. It's going to give you a matte sealant. I only had gloss Mod Podge on hand for this, so if you're going to be sealing, I would suggest getting matte. By sealing it, then you're not going to have to worry about any of those little letters coming off. Even if somebody's trying to pick at it, it's just going to seal it down. I absolutely love this saying. I did a sign for my parents for Christmas last year with this saying on it, and I like that it's a little different. It hasn't been overdone, and this size is perfect for a bathroom or a shelf, and you can offer it in a variety of sizes. What about Christmas vibes? So here's another idea to do a sign set. So a stager sign as well as a little square sign. So we're going to do the same square sign we just did, as well as one of these 8x10 canvases also from Arteza. So this one I went through and stained it as well in that dark walnut color, and I cut out a decal from Kaluuya Designs, which is free. I will link it down below, but it's just a plaid decal. I wanted to create a plaid stager sign to go with my little square sign. So I cut it out on some scrap green vinyl. I weeded out the areas that I wanted to be red. So I wanted these lines to be red. I used my transfer tape, the same one I've been using in the whole video, that opaque Expressions Vinyl transfer tape. And then I applied it to my sign. Once I peeled back all of my transfer tape, then I went through with just a little bit of Mod Podge, especially on those little squares, to ensure that I didn't have any bleeding. Then I'm going through with just some red acrylic paint and dabbing it on with the disposable makeup sponge. And I would suggest using acrylic paint for your signs because it's so much cheaper than chalk paint. When you're trying to make a profit on things, you want as good of quality as you can get for as cheap as you can get, so your profit is larger. So acrylic paint, you may have to do one more coat, but in the long run, it's going to be so much cheaper than that chalk paint for stenciling especially. Once that was done, I taped off the edges of my square sign and painted the inside black so that I could get a chalkboard vibe with the wood frame. Then I used my stencil vinyl again to cut out a decal I got from Etsy that says it's the most wonderful time of the year, and I went through and weeded it to the size of my sign. Used my transfer tape, applied it with my squeegee, peeled back the backing, and got it all centered and applied onto my sign. And then I'm using that same, put the same color paint down before you stencil things. So I put the black down. Once that coat dried, I did my red, my green, and then my white for my lettering. As long as you have the patience and you aren't trying to fly through this, I made this sign probably with this stenciling in about 10 minutes. And if you are doing a bunch in a row, they aren't as hard as it seems. But when you peel off the stencil, this looks awesome, and this is totally something you would pay a good amount of money for at a Hobby Lobby, a Kirkland's, etc. Then I went outside with some spray polyacrylic to seal these signs to show you how I would do them, so you had that information as well. I get this spray polyacrylic and I go one direction, so here I'm going vertically up and down to give a good coat, and then right away I go back through horizontally to make sure everything's kind of coated. Then let that dry, flip it over, and do the same thing on the back side. As you can see here, it dries clear and matte, so you don't have any weird shine, and you don't have to deal with your chalkboard then looking shiny when you're going to display it. A couple tips when you're taking photos to sell your items: grab some different pieces to stage them with. So here I've got a scarf, I've got some greenery. I was going for this Etsy inspired vibe, so all I did was put down 2 little greenery picks from Michael's last year, staggered my signs, and they look so cute. And these are the kind of photos you need to catch people's attention when you're selling online, especially on social media. I did a full tutorial video with Cricut a while ago on how to use your machine to screen print, and you guys had a ton of questions. The main one was, can you do it with 2 colors? Well, here today I'm going to show you how you can create a 2-color screen printed shirt super easily. I am using a bunch of sweatshirts that I got from Jiffy Shirts. I will link the direct link down below. That's where I found some really good deals on blank apparel for crafting. So if you're interested in screen printing, definitely go check out that video, because that is the full tutorial. I go through at a good slow pace so you can kind of see everything. But here I'm showing you how to do the 2 colors. So I'm going to use this Griswold & Co. image, and the first thing I'm going to do is go through and make sure all of the red pieces are welded together by selecting them and hitting weld in the right hand corner, and making sure all of my black images are together. So you have 1 red piece, 1 black piece. Then I'm going to insert some 1-inch squares. I need 1 for each layer of color. So I'm going to need 1 black one, 1 red one. I'm going to change the color up here in the little box so that I have a red square and a black square. That way the machine knows, okay, I need 1 of these on each layer. I'm going to select both of them and hit center so they're in the exact same spot, and then select the red square as well as the red text and hit weld, and then the black square with your black text and hit weld. Repeat that same process for the left side of your image. So you're going to want a red and a black square, and then weld it. What that's going to do is it's going to give you your design based on colors. So you'll have a red stencil and a black stencil to go on your screen, as well as these little bleed like tracking marks on the edges, and I'll show you why that's important. The last thing you're going to want to do before you cut is make sure that you mirror it, because we're going to put it on the screen backwards. Once it was all cut out, I went through and weeded my design out and then applied it to the screen. Again, all that information is going to be over in that video. I walk you through the whole thing on how to make your own screens with your Cricut. Then I'm going to do the black layer first, so I'm getting it all set onto my shirt, and here is where the magic happens. You're going to take a couple pieces of painter's tape and make sure it's on your shirt underneath those guidelines. What you're going to do is basically give yourself the bleed marks or the printing guidelines for your next color. So once everything's set and you're not going to get any ink to come through those squares onto your shirt because of the painter's tape, then I added my black ink and squeegeed it to cover the entire shirt. Once I was ready, I peeled off my little screen, and I was left with my black design as well as 2 squares right on top of the painter's tape, which is exactly what I wanted. I let that dry overnight as well as my screen, but you could let it go a couple hours. I just happened to do the first one at night. Then I went in and took my 2 squares of the next stencil and lined them up with the guidelines I had before. So here I'm making sure both my left and right squares are lined up with that black ink mark, so I know they're right where they need to be. Then I'm taking some red speedball ink and doing the red coloring and squeegeeing that down. And then peeling up my screen to reveal a 2-color screen printed shirt. Then all you have to do is just peel off that painter's tape carefully and nobody would know that it was there. The last step after making sure that this whole thing is completely dry, I like to heat set it at 320 degrees for about 30 to 45 seconds. Depending on the size of your press or your iron, you'll have to press it a few times around the outside, but once it is pressed, it is permanent and ready to go. I used the same process with 1 color, so I only needed 1 screen to make this "What's a Christmas Gram? I Want One" shirt. I love this saying from Elf. I saw this SVG on Etsy and decided that I wanted a sweatshirt like that. So you can do 1 color, multiple colors. The things I love about screen printing is, 1, it is very comfortable for the person wearing the shirt, so they don't have to worry about any heat transfer vinyl being itchy. They don't have to worry about it cracking. It's super permanent once you heat set it. And also you can make a few shirts on 1 screen, so that will help with your productivity in your business. I cannot wait to wear these. I know it is not appropriate yet, but I just want to break these out and wear them because they're so fun.
Thanks so much for watching. Let me know down in the comments below if you currently sell or have sold stuff in the past. What are some of your best sellers? I love to learn from you guys, so let me know. Also, be sure to leave a comment if you've got a Cricut question or project you want me to cover in a future video. I love to hear from you guys and make content that will help you get more out of your machine. Thank you for watching. Thanks to Cricut for sponsoring today's video. And also be sure to hit subscribe if you're new so you don't miss a future Whiskey and Whit video. And I will catch you in the next one. Bye!